Good evening, everyone. My name is Laura Schifrin, and I am Chair of the Planning Board, calling the meeting to order on November 13th at 6:31 p.m. I'd like a roll call vote, and the meeting is being recorded, as you know, and it will be uploaded to the Townsend website and YouTube channel. Could I have a roll call vote, please?
Robert Therian here.
Carol House is present.
Andrew Shepherd here.
Laura Schifrin here. And I don't see Tony, right? Okay. Would you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank all of our veterans and all of those that are currently serving. We pray for peace. Under 1.4, Chairman's additions or deletions. I do have an addition. I have spoken with Brett King in reference to 27 Scales Lane. In your packet, Beth has prepared a schedule of that permit for your information. And I have asked him to come in at 6:45 or join us at that time, and he'll give us an update. 1.5, review and approve the meeting minutes of October 30th, 2023. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Any discussion regarding the minutes of October 30th? Hearing none, I'll entertain a roll call vote, please.
Carol House is yes.
Robert Therian, yes.
Andrew Shepherd, yes.
Laura Schifrin, yes. And I didn't mean to say entertain because that would be like the motion, but thank you for the vote. Okay, let's go to, I believe Chaz has joined us. I want to
No,
recognize.
he's downstairs though. I saw him downstairs.
Okay,
He was here.
I did see him. Yeah.
Yeah,
he
he's
was
trying to
here
get ready for the town meeting tomorrow.
Oh, he was supposed to join us. Okay. 2.1 special town meeting, MBTA Communities Law Zoning Plan Process Presentation. The meeting is. Are you talking? This is the meeting tomorrow night?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I will be in the air, so I will not be at the meeting, but that was also in your packet, the presentation of those 3 parcels. The maps, we had the maps, we've gone over them before, and it'll be Jonathan, I believe, that will be making the presentation to the town. Jonathan from MRPC. Any other comments on that?
Are they going to be voting on something tomorrow or just making a presentation?
I think this is just the presentation because they're going to go out to talk to the community afterwards. And my understanding is, and Beth, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that there will be some kind of survey taken, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
So this is just the presentation.
good.
I don't think that's the entire meeting, though.
No,
Right, Beth? Aren't they voting on the CPA?
No.
I don't think that's.
No.
I haven't seen the agenda.
The
The
warrant?
warrant.
Yeah.
No, mostly it's moving money from this account to that account.
Yeah.
Because I look for that CPA tab.
Oh, you do? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Oh, okay.
'Cause
Well,
I'm
we got
voting-
inside information.
No, because I'm voting against it.
Oh, you are, okay.
Okay, so we should talk about this a little bit. Or I'll take 2 minutes to explain. Many years ago, but the town has already voted the CPA down twice. At the time that it started, the CPA was only to be charged to people who were buying a home. So in other words, the only place that money came from was buyers, new buyers who were coming into town. So that was voted down, I think, almost unanimously. Since that time, the CPA has progressed to, we've not gotten any money back for certain things, and hopefully I remember the three of them. I know one is housing assistance, the other is historic preservation, and the other one is escaping me. But there's three items. All MRPC just had a large discussion about this last Thursday, and many of the communities swear by it because it's also one of the things that if you're not in the CPA, you don't get points for that when you're going for a grant. So now it's divided among everyone. So the spreading of this cost, if you will, is minimal per year. So somewhere between $25 and $100 a year per household. It's not any more than that.
Well, I beg to differ only because I paid that CPA tax in Westford and it was more than $100 a year. And every time my taxes went up, so does the CPA tax go up. Even though Veronica calls it a fee, it goes up according to your taxes. So I know I was paying more than $100 a year.
Okay.
And I think Townsend was looking at 3%, and I believe Westford wasn't that high. So my taxes are almost $10,000.
They are.
So I don't even want to pay another $100 for any more taxes.
Okay, so I understand that, but the benefit outweighs the cost as far as maybe not to you. I understand. I'm not going to argue the point.
No,
I'm just
I will not
bring
do
out-
that.
Yeah,
But
I'm just trying to point out.
I have other issues with the town in spending and not in spending money, which I won't get into because I'm a very, right now I'm a pissed off chairperson of the Open Space Committee. So
Oh, okay.
that's a whole nother thing.
Yes, it is. And I'm sure I agree with you there. So,
So my
But anyway.
tax dollars are being spent and I'm not getting a product out of it, so.
all right. I did want to make those points though, and there will be a presentation, hopefully that's more informative. That I passed along to, I believe, the assessors and to you, the other communities that were doing the CPA in the state, as well as a map that shows where they are. And something else was attached to that email also that we got last Thursday. Well, I asked.
Yeah, I thought I sent that out to the board too. Did
Okay.
I not? I think I thought I did.
It is very informative, and I just ask that you look at it with an open mind. That's all. And Robert, you're on the bylaw committee. Do you want to fill us in on what's going?
Yes.
Exciting news.
Well, unfortunately, I wasn't able, there was a 2-meeting night with the bylaw committee, and then so circumstances happened, like could not make it. However, I've been working on it, and these are what has transpired here. The town manager prepared a list of items that he was concerned about. So we tried to approach the departments in town to find out what issues we should be focusing on. And so he came up with a very extensive list of items. And then I found my own agenda of items based on things that happen at this board and speaking to the building department and other areas. So I have been doing behind the scenes work here. So I could take the time to go over the list that the town manager had. I think everybody has a copy of that anyway. Maybe not. But Chaz prepared quite a presentation. And I have not indulged into each one of these, and we're just trying to prepare which ones we should focus on. However, from the building department and from this planning board, there are other things that I wanted to focus attention on. One of them is the bylaw of enforcement and how that's done. And we've had a lot of violations, but have never enforced them. So I want to explore that and see if that can be tightened up. The bylaw basically reads that the violations have to be submitted to the town legal counsel and for him to enforce. So from what I'm understanding, why that's not happening is the town's trying to avoid legal costs in doing it. But that's not what the law says. So I'm just like focusing on that. The other thing I wanted to address was there's an extension and alterations section when somebody pulls out a building permit. And basically that permit expires in like 12 months. And under a lot of circumstances that have happened, and even to me personally, a lot of homeowners try to do their improvements out of pocket money instead of getting a construction loan and things like that. And so they do things in phases. So in doing that, then it really burdens them being their permit expiring all the time, and then there's a burden for the building department. So I think we have to look at that and see if we can improve on that. So I looked at that as well. And then this planning board had some real serious concerns about the accessory apartment bylaw. And so what I've done basically is pulled up those sections, so we'll have the actual bylaw to present and discuss and review. I haven't formulated any opinion on any of them, but I'm pulling up the ones that I think also need to be done. And there also is one regarding a lot of trouble from the building department about this lighting bylaw, which I never really understood to begin with. And so I pulled that up as well. And the building department's having a lot of trouble with complaints that they can't enforce anything on regarding free roam chickens and the things like that. So I'm getting a little, they're getting calls from the township trying to enforce this and complaints, but they have no ways to do anything about it because there's no bylaw that really addresses it well. So those are just a brief summary of what's going on. The other thing I don't know about is I just got notice like last week that one of the members of the bylaw review committee resigned. So I don't know what the circumstances are that about. And as far as I know, there hasn't been another meeting scheduled unless you know something about it, Beth.
December, we have a meeting in December, let me double check.
Are they on, are they posted? Do you know, Beth?
Have they posted?
No, I
You
meant,
mean-
I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Are the bylaw committee meetings recorded?
Yeah,
So they're televised?
yeah, so I'm pretty sure the next one's on the 11th. but I'm
The
gonna
11th?
check with you. Yeah, yeah.
And it's considered an open meeting if anybody wanted to attend?
Yes. Yeah, online and in person is the way they've been running so far.
Okay,
And I can send out that information when I get it to the board, you know, like I'll send out the agenda and the Zoom link and all that for the next one.
okay.
I don't really have anything else to add than what I just presented.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate you spending your time doing that. Does Brett come in?
Yep.
Oh, is he there?
He's arrived.
Okay. Brett, you're up.
Oh, can I, just a point of order, if, Andrew, if you're recusing yourself,
Yep.
you probably need to leave.
Okay,
I'll let you know when they're done.
that's, all right, I'll be nearby.
All right.
I'll go find Chaz.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay. Brett, Beth, have you given Brett the outline that you gave to the board?
No,
Okay.
I haven't, I didn't even, that was strictly for your information.
Okay. Well,
Stuff you have, I just printed out the,
So,
okay, Brett, the floor is yours. I have let everybody know that we had a conversation
Sure.
and that you were going to present where you are today.
Sure. So basically, I called, and I should have asked the question in a different way. I called the engineering firm and tried to talk to the engineer of record for this property. And they said he's on vacation till after the holiday. But I don't know if that means Thanksgiving or New Year's. So
Oh my
I
God.
didn't clarify that. So I guess, but meanwhile, I guess we don't need to stop what we're doing. I think I want to go over what I think needs to be done, Beth, and you tell me if I'm wrong, you tell me if I need to add something, if I don't, if it's too much information. I think there's only a few things. I don't think we're too far off. Right?
yeah, I mean, if you have the letter, I'm looking for the letter that you were sent. Basically, there's just a couple of
A
items.
couple of items, right? So first, I want to, and this is why I want to go into executive session, but we can't do it, so I'm just going to put it out there. So one of the reasons, Beth, you made a comment about there were some changes to the plan that weren't picked up, right? To me, these are kind of minor changes, and we can go over them because they're going to be picked up on the as-built. But one of the reasons I don't want to come back in front of the board is because during the permitting process, a former member of a board told me it was his goal to run me out of money before this project was completed. So, former member, I really don't think I really want to come in front of any boards anymore, or nor did I want to. So here we are, we have to finish this project. So what I have, Beth, is for an as-built, you were looking for the roof drains, which were not on the drawing. You were looking for the catch basin, which was not on the drawing. And you were looking for the tank that was not on the drawing, correct?
Yeah, there was also some riprap that was supposed to be on there and the area. Were they?
So this is what, so yes, I did miss a couple seconds. So those are the things that we changed that were not on the drawing. So can you
Oh,
think
okay.
of, okay, can you think of anything else?
I have to look at, I brought the folder. Why don't we all look at it?
Sure.
I have, the approved plan, and I have that as built. And everything was in that report, so you don't need too much. I think you all had this in your folders, but. And, where's this one? This looks good. Stormwater basins and everything else. This is what was approved, right? That was the money.
Yes.
That's pretty much what's built right there. The only thing that we didn't see.
We're missing an outlet control structure, which is this.
Yep, that was mentioned in the.
Yeah, that's missing.
No,
Yeah.
is this an as-built or a proposed one?
This is a approved
Approved.
plan, yeah, and the as-built is here. So the difference is he can speak to those, and
Yeah, it's built.
kind of.
Sure. So what we added, Robert, is we added roof drains, right? Because we have gutters.
Mhm.
And over time, the driveway was washing out.
Sure.
So what we did add is we added a gutter collection system that runs around the building.
Like a French drain or?
Yeah, kind of, like it runs into an 8-inch pipe, and instead of running on the ground, it runs into an 8-inch pipe. And it comes around, this side comes around the building
Stormwater basin.
to here, which we put a catch basin in.
Right,
And this side comes down this way into the same catch basin.
Yeah.
The reason, so that was washing out the driveway, so that wasn't working too well.
correct.
The reason we put in this catch basin is there was not a catch basin on the plan, but once again, all this water was sheet draining across the whole property and kept washing this banking out on the pond.
How did the engineer miss that?
Well, I don't know, at the end of the day, he didn't miss it. It got approved that way, and it
Yeah.
would have been cheaper for me to build it that way, and it
Right,
was, and I was
right.
thankful, but when it didn't work,
You have to do
I
something.
had to do something. So we added a catch basin here that now comes in with a piece of 12-inch pipe that now comes into this pond.
That's a 12-inch. Is
Yeah.
there a filter or anything? No?
So I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, so it's not a standard catch basin. I actually put in
It's like a dry well?
no, I put in a storm scepter. You know what a storm scepter is?
Not
So
really.
it's basically, catch basin is typically a deep sump catch basin.
Mhm.
So a storm scepter has this fiberglass insert, and it's supposed to create a vortex when the water comes in to help separate the solids
Sediment.
and drive them to the bottom, and the water comes out clean. Can't tell you if they work. I know they're really expensive and we use them a lot. So
Yeah.
I figured with all the sediment going in, it'd be good to put that in.
Okay.
So that's what we put in, right? It's picked up on that as-built, I think.
Can you mark that
Symbol
now,
right
what
there.
you've done?
That one's on there. Yep,
Yeah, okay.
Does it
It doesn't.
describe what it should describe what it is?
it doesn't
Yeah.
describe what it is, but we can,
Note it.
yeah, we can note
Right.
that.
And
Okay.
that's draining from this, right?
Right,
Uh,
so is
Catching off
the-
the
is
roof
this,
runoff.
So yes and no. So it's catching this water, okay? And then internally piped into it is this water.
all
And
right,
then this
so,
water.
so this is depressed right now.
A little bit, yeah.
And all those contour water goes,
Yep.
as well as your
Roof
perimeter building drainage
Yep.
system.
Yeah,
Mhm,
Okay.
that was one of the changes I made in the field.
mhm.
The other thing that was added is right in here, it's not shown on this drawing, but right in here, as per Mass Plumbing Code, every commercial building that you park a vehicle in, there needs to be a holding tank and a floor drain.
Yeah, separate.
Yeah, so typically it's a separator if you have sewer, but there's no sewer in town, so it ends up just being a tight tank.
Okay.
So that
It's
was,
contained.
it's contained, yeah, it's just a septic tank with no outlet.
Okay.
That was installed, permit was pulled, inspected by the local plumbing inspector,
I
so,
know, yeah.
that tank is, I don't, once again, know why they didn't show it, but it's basically right there, and there's a couple covers on it, I think Beth, you saw it.
Is
up there.
is that in line with this?
No, it's
No,
not,
okay.
it's offset, I
Oh,
think
okay.
it's, but it's not connected in any way,
Oh,
shape, or
okay.
form, it's just
Okay.
a
A
tight
tank
tank.
for a drain that, in case of emergency?
Yeah, in
Okay.
case, like, gas or oil was to leak out of a vehicle,
Right.
it wouldn't run out the door, it's gonna go into the floor drain and go into this tight tank, and
Okay, okay.
and like I said, that's part of the Mass Plumbing Code. You can't have every commercial building that your
Has
park
to
rate goes in has to have it. So we changed that. That was on there. So I don't really know, Beth, what else. There's a little erosion down here.
Yep.
With 14, 15 inches of rain or whatever it is we got this year. This all sheet drains down into this pond. So there was a little erosion down in here. So we need to fix that. But of course,
It wasn't going off site though.
it wasn't going off site, right? It was going into the pond, right? So we there's nothing we changed. That's just something we need to fix when we can get
It's a
there
maintenance
and
thing,
have
really.
grass grow, right? The other thing we changed, you can see. So this is another outlet control structure out of this pond, comes across, and he's got it shown going to like a riprap pad here.
Mhm.
Problem we had here, this was all washing out every time it rained. So this isn't a forebay, this is just a depression. So what we did is we just ran the pipe further and we put it into
Put it
the
right
pond.
into the basin.
Yeah.
That's,
Um,
a lot of sense.
Like I said, I don't know if his intent was a forebay, but I have the full
I
set of
think it was
plans.
probably, his intent was probably to control the velocity of the flow.
Could be,
Yeah,
could be.
but it's already been there. You've experienced this through a storm already?
Oh, yeah.
And what happened?
Nothing.
Nothing.
This doesn't wash out
The
anymore.
velocity had nothing to do with anything.
Well, when we had it this short originally, like I said, it used to
It's too
erode in
much,
here. It's too
right.
much, right?
So now
Uh,
it just goes through.
Now it just comes through and the pipe basically ends
Dumps
right in the
right
pond. I think something else brought up, so, sorry, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go ahead.
So did that cause any kind, I'm just concerned about it's just a question
Yeah,
about
yeah.
what happens now.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that you did this and eliminated that.
Yeah,
So it goes directly into the storm drain, the basin.
yeah.
And was there any overflow problem there?
When we have 9 inches of rain.
Well, there's a little. I
So,
guess, yeah. Yeah.
I have seen times where, yes, this water does come out,
Okay,
the overflow. I have seen that happen.
and that was a really intense storm?
It was a really intense storm, and I think it's designed to, because it really doesn't show it on this drawing, but we had to put in a spillway here.
Right, oh, you put in a spillway.
We put in a spillway.
And this-
It's shown here, but for
Right.
some reason it's not.
Is this?
Oh, right here, it's not shown, but it says proposed emergency spillway elevation. Yeah.
That's right,
So-
it's not really drawn.
It's not drawn, no.
Right.
I see
Now,
that,
is
yeah.
the storm, this basin
Yeah.
looks a little dissimilar in size and shape than this one?
It does. I can have them check the volume
Right,
if you want.
yeah, I think,
I mean,
as long as
this looks
we're
bigger,
achieving the
you
same
know.
results,
Yeah,
I would be very fine with that. In fact, I think some of this is an improvement from what was originally proposed, but this could be a concern. Can I suggest something here?
sure.
I would suggest that, that you put the notes that we just discussed
Yep,
with a greater narrative on them,
okay,
on this document here,
yep,
as a preliminary, or an existing, condition drawing.
sure.
And we, I think, as a board, can approve or subject to final engineering agreement on the changes.
Okay.
How does that sound?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, right, we'll just give you a more complete as-built.
Right,
We need
I
to-
think what you did here is excellent. I think that was very good decision. This here, I think is very workable. My real question is the capacity of
Sure.
this. Because when this was engineered, there must have been a 5-year flood, 100-year flood or
Yep,
something that determined the size of this. And we need some certification that this meets that standard.
Sure, it's definitely a dissimilar shape, so
Well,
let's have them
I
do
mean,
it.
things do happen like
Right,
that.
let's have them run some calcs on it.
Yeah.
You know, if
Yeah.
this is eroded anyways, if
Yeah.
it's gotta be dug a little bigger, it's
Right.
not a big deal. We'll just do that
Right.
before we loam it. I mean,
But generally, that's my major concern. This here is, to me, is actually a betterment. And the same thing happens here too. Do you know what I mean? It looks like a.
I do, yeah, it's definitely a different shape,
Right.
right? Like,
So
I can have them,
I think we want to get close to what he had engineered.
Yep.
All right, so.
yep,
And is there any impact, and I don't think there is, but the fact that this overflow goes out this way, because this is definitely gonna hold a
Mm.
pretty good storm. It's definitely deep.
so that is
It is
never,
deep.
Yeah.
that
That's
has
never
never
going
filled up.
anywhere.
Yeah, so
that-
it doesn't
No.
need an outfall
This one,
then?
These two have the potential going off-site, and that's why
Yeah.
it's a concern.
This
Right,
one has
exactly.
this one has never really held water, to be
Mhm.
honest.
Really?
It comes in here and it comes out this way,
It's
right?
nicely
Because it goes that
vegetated.
way naturally.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because the contours are good do grow that way.
right. So really, this doesn't see much water at
Right.
all.
And if
Uh,
anything, this should be larger because it's not doing this.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, this.
Did you,
Really nice.
you did install it though, you did?
I did
Oh,
install it. I
yeah,
did
yeah.
install.
We-
So
We put everything in, with the thing that, what's the name of that structure again? We did-
Oh, a control structure?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really.
So when we were digging this pond,
Mhm.
Beth may remember this, we were told we had to stop. And
Why?
by the engineer, and I said, why is that? He said, if you don't stop right now, this is a Thursday, if you don't stop right now, the town is gonna issue a cease and desist. I'm like, okay, so I stopped. There was a big meeting here on Monday, and Beth, on a Monday, I don't know if you were there, Beth, but someone, anonymous, report that I was digging in the wetlands.
What wetlands?
Well, these are wetlands,
Right.
right?
Oh.
But I'm clearly building a pond that is on the plan, but yet I had to have an
Still
engineer and a
wetlands.
surveyor here defending an anonymous complaint that I was digging in the wetlands. So I guess there's been
It
quite
was
a bit
always
of,
intended to dig there.
exactly.
Exactly.
What I'm trying to get at
It was
is
an approved-
there was quite a bit of harassment when I was doing this job by a former member. And that's why I'm a little bitter about the
Well-
whole thing. But let's go forward, not backwards.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what we can make work here. And,
So far, like I absolutely have no problem with any of those suggestions. I know this, I can talk to the surveyor at the engineer's office. We went over some of the, that's where I got some of the information. But like I said, the engineer himself is
So-
away.
If I'm understanding what you just told me, the engineer himself
Yes.
was challenging this
Oh, no. There was an anonymous complaint called into the town.
into the town.
Yeah.
Town called the engineer,
Town called the engineer
and then
and
what?
set up a meeting out here on a Monday, emergency meeting. The town came out, I don't know who it was. The engineer was there and the engineer was like, what seems to be the problem? And they're like, well, he's digging in the wetlands. And he pulled the plan out and he's like, well,
Of course
this is
we
a
did.
detention pond that
Mhm. In the wetlands.
is close to the wetlands, but it's on an approved drawing. So he didn't know what the problem was. And then after he explained it, there was no problem. It just went away. But
Yeah.
there's been like a constant history
Oh,
out
okay,
here.
so that's kind of a harassment thing, but you never got a cease and desist.
No, I never, because I stopped. I didn't,
Okay, well, that being said, that's really not part of the discussion
yep,
anymore.
no.
Okay, so I think the approach we probably should suggest here is to have the engineer review what's been done.
We'll give you more complete as-built,
Right.
like it kind of.
And for him to say, this is gonna work.
Yeah.
Okay? And to your betterment here, you know, what you did in this part of the lot, I think was a great improvement. So,
Well, this is our business, so we're a site contractor, so
well, there you go.
we,
The
you
man
know,
on the job that sees what's
we
going on.
see a little bit of it.
Okay, well, that's my opinion on it. Anybody wanna, support that?
It'll-
So as-built roof drains, catch basin and tank. And then we gotta check the volume of basically this pond, right? The other
Right.
ones are,
Yeah, just the capacity,
Yeah.
make sure that's gonna meet the you know, the standard for a 100-year flood or whatever.
And then we have
So
to
would
regrade
that mean
this.
that he'd have to go and survey that area or to,
If he doesn't have enough information, yeah, he's gonna have.
when do you think we could get that information?
I can call over there and ask,
Right.
because the surveyor's coming out, not the
Right.
engineer,
So
so.
are you at a stop work situation now?
No, this project's been complete for
Okay,
4 years.
all right, so we can
5,
wait on this.
2 years, 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So, any other questions?
Beth,
with
did you
that?
have any real concerns here?
No, that's perfectly clear, yeah.
Did you want me to install that overflow on
Oh,
pond,
no, I mean.
on
it-
pond basin
no, I-
number 2?
No, let's wait to see what the
Oh,
engineer
gosh,
comes up
no,
with.
it's suitably sized for
Hmm.
sure.
Yeah,
I think-
and it's on the plan. I should have done it. I just,
Yeah,
I
the only
didn't.
thing that we were looking at is whatever was in the letter, and there was just a couple of things like
Yeah.
he looked at, so, yeah.
Well,
That's good.
I think the concept's fine. It's just the calculations and.
sure. So basic calculations on basin number 1 is what is the biggest concern.
Right.
'Cause
Base-
it has gone over.
All right, so those calculations are going to be based upon the existing installation.
Yes,
So it's going to be a modified as-built plan.
yes.
Approved. Yeah. Okay.
So Brett, I want to thank you very much. Jessica is also on. Jessica, I'd like to ask you if you have any questions.
Thank you. Hello, Brett.
Hey, Jesse.
Yeah, so this is pretty much the same conversation that you and I have had offline already. So yeah, just providing, more technical justification for these deviations, that they still meet the intents and purposes of stormwater management. So I'm not looking at the plan you're at, but I think the basin 1 is the one closest to the building. So
No,
like-
basin two is
sorry.
closest to the building.
closest to the building, the one to the south. So, like that one, I think was permitted at a 2-to-1 slope, but it was built at a 3-to-1 slope without that structure too. So just as long as, there's some, engineering check justification that what is built is still adequate.
Okay, so
I
So
think
you're
is
right,
sufficient.
that was a 3-to-1 and it is 2-to-1. And what we ended up doing there is
Okay.
that basin kept washing in, the whole basin kept washing in.
Where?
This basin right here. So what we did, if you go up there and take a look, you're more than welcome to go up and take a look. We armored the whole basin with rock because
Of the erosion.
of the erosion.
Right.
So it is in fact probably, Jessica, 2-to-1. I don't know. I could have them look at that one.
I mean,
too,
I wouldn't climb down it, so it's steep enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but even, if it is more than the design capacity, it's contained on the lot right there.
I've never seen more than 2 feet of water in that basin. And it takes a lot of water.
Okay.
This one, like I said, this one has,
All right.
gone over the overflow before.
Right. So the biggest concern here is capacities and if they're adequate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then from a permit sort of administrative side of things too, for the duration of the permit, I don't believe we received the monthly inspection reports or the annual inspection reports. So not necessarily to open up discussion tonight, but as long as there's some written justification when you resubmit the new information so that the board can consider that in their review of the COC request.
We can look through our records and see what we have.
Right, but no work has been done anyway, so there's been no change, right?
Not since, I don't know, I couldn't really tell you when. I mean, 21 maybe, 22. No work has been done in a year.
Right, so why, it doesn't seem practical to do an inspection report if nothing has changed since the last.
Oh,
one.
I'm sorry. I'll clarify. For a stormwater management permit, every month the permittee is required to fill out a monthly inspection form to just make sure there's no, excess erosion or sedimentation occurring. So even during the life of this permit, while there was active construction going, the town did not receive I don't think, any of those 24
I see.
required inspection forms.
So Jessica, can I just ask you, if for the process and the, bringing us up to date, if you will, once he gets everything on a plan and an inspection is done, my understanding is that you have somebody who does, like the engineer is the one that submits the monthly inspection. Is that not correct? Who
It could be a
submits-
variety of people. I mean, the permit is issued, I think the permit itself was issued to WK Realty. So it is either them or someone they hired responsibility to submit those monthly inspection forms. And this is a condition of all stormwater permits, both
Yeah, I
major and minor
understand
for
that.
everybody.
I do know that. I just didn't know. My understanding was it was the engineer that, or whoever was in charge of the project, the stormwater project, was that it was whoever was in charge of it was the one that submitted the reports. So anyway, having said that,
Well, wouldn't it be
once we get,
who pulled the permit would have that responsibility?
yeah,
Whoever pulled the
yeah.
permit.
And so
Well,
whoever
not-
constructed
Not
it,
necessarily, it could be the engineer, but
it could be
that
the
wasn't-
engineer too.
it wasn't in my contract with the engineering firm to do
Okay.
that, so it falls on me.
So
Okay,
once he's up to
We gotta
date,
address that problem.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
look through our records and see what we got. We didn't submit them, I'll be honest, they weren't
Okay.
submitted.
All right.
Okay.
I'm sure, I know we did some.
Mhm.
I don't know about all of them, to be honest, but we'll go back and look and see what we can come up with.
because I know that is part of the process, the inspections. What I don't know is, Beth or Jessica, if you could tell us, in this process, once you have the stormwater permit for it, and is the inspection process like every month for a lifetime, or
No,
is it once a month or once a quarter? It changes once the permit's signed off, right?
right.
Then it's,
So-
then it goes to a semi-annual report.
Semi-annual. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, I knew that there was another one too. So once the permit is resolved, there's like a report that has to go into the town twice a year. It's not a lengthy thing, right, Beth? It's just a one pager?
It kind of tapers off. It's twice a year and then it's once a year and that.
I just wanted to get the process out there for everybody.
Yeah, there's a standard inspection form. It's similar to the monthly form. I think it's a little bit beefier just because you're doing it once a year instead of once a month. But if you print it on one sheet of paper, I think it's double-sided. So it's nothing really
Okay.
extensive, but it's just, it's to show that your stormwater infrastructure is functioning properly. And, we're not contributing to any pollution or anything in public ways.
All right, so Jessica, I appreciate that information. And did I hear you? It is once a year? That's what I heard before, but
It
I
is,
thought-
yeah. So I don't have any permits open in front of me or the bylaws, but during construction, it is every month, once a month, preferably around the same day every month. And then I think most recently we've graduated to, once your permit receives a certificate of completion, it is annual reports into the future.
okay.
Right.
And I know there's several of those going on now.
Yeah.
So does that help clarify for everybody?
Yes, I have one. You see what happens here is a site plan is presented by a professional engineer.
Mhm.
And the community relies on that engineer, and everybody in town here is looking to see what was engineered is delivered.
Sure.
And so there is quite a disparity from what was proposed here and what is there now. So the question is, why wasn't it done the way it was presented?
It was done the way the plan calls for, and it didn't work. I had erosion everywhere.
He was explaining that when he was showing you the stuff on the map, Robert.
You're right, I saw that and I understood that. So, but that's the reason we're having this conversation today, is because it didn't work, what the engineer had done.
Yeah.
And what has been his response to that?
You know, I'll be honest, plans we see nowadays, right, are 90%, 80%. And as soon as someone signs off, a town, and it's not just this just isn't Townsend by any means, any town or city signs off, we have to go build it. And there's not enough information on any plan today that we can build the project. There always are these changes. Now, a lot of times we just pick them up in as-builts, but you know, we have a hard time with our clients because we have to go ask for change orders because we're changing it. What is
Right.
designed sometimes doesn't work. It looks good on paper, but it really doesn't work as it's intended. And this is nothing, I mean, this is my engineer, it's nothing on my engineer, it's just, today it seems like engineers get it approved and from there it's
For
changes.
example, I'll just give you an example. We approved a stormwater permit for Country Estates. And we finally got, or they, Country Estates, finally got their contractor. And the bid that came in and what is kept being repeated from the contractor, and somebody I trust fully, says, well, it just depends. Because once we start digging and once we start taking stuff out of there, we don't know actually if what we're going to put in is going to work. And is that going to be like that? And apparently that's what happened here. It looked good on paper, and it was engineered by the same guy. It looked good on paper, but who I trust as well. And we all have experience with him on the board. But once you get into the project, it's like any construction of anything. You're going to hit stuff that you didn't think was going to be there.
Well, I understand that completely. Unforeseen things happen that nobody could foresee ahead of time. And particularly, you know, there was no soil testing or anything like that done prior to them doing this.
There was in the basins, there was soil testing.
There was.
Yeah.
So
I don't want to say that the original plan didn't work. It worked.
well, conceptually it works.
But it worked. It worked when we built it that way too. It's just there was erosion going on, and we thought we would make it a little better. You know, it's by adding a few things.
All right. Well, I you know, keep current with the inspection reports. As I suggested, the notes more enhanced of what is really there, and have the engineer review that and accept it, or certify it or modify it.
Okay.
So I'm asking of the board, since currently Mr. King doesn't know what holiday the engineer is going to be back after, what do you want to do for a time frame? And I think, Brett, you said you were going to check at what you had, and so you'll feed us information in the meantime, and until you can get a hold of your engineer, or he's back in the area. How would you like that to work? Or
Yeah, I mean, I really think a lot of this stuff, Lori, is, I mean, as-bilt's going to pick up so much of it, right? So there's no reason, if they don't have the information, I will have the surveyor come out and pick up whatever information he needs. We can get it on a plan back to you. We can show the roof drains, we can show the tank, we can show the catch basin. The only thing I'm not sure, I don't know about the calculation of the basin. I don't know if the engineer needs to do that. I know we can as-built it, but I know to run the drainage calcs, it's gonna have to be
Professionally done,
so someone in his, you know, it's not the surveyor anymore. Now it falls back on the engineer. So, I mean, I can pick all this stuff up in as-built, that's no problem.
Right.
And then the only thing we'll be waiting on is confirmation of the pond size, right?
And so when do we think we can get all that?
I'll talk to him tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll talk to him
Are
tomorrow.
we 4 months or?
No, I mean, the erosion down is, so say everything can stay the way it is, the erosion down by the pond, I'll be honest, I'm not gonna do anything until spring when I can grow a little more grass. There's no sense putting in a loam down there. But I don't see why we can't get all this as-built information back to you in the next month.
Okay.
I don't. The only thing we were holding off on when I talked to him is, I just want to be clear, do you want the overflow installed in pond number 1? Or are you okay with it not being installed?
I don't think it needs to be installed, right? I mean, that is a very deep basin.
Right.
I'll interject there on that one. So I'm going to turn the tables back to you, and just if an engineer agrees that it's not needed, then that's okay. But the burden of proof will be on you, not the board to make that determination.
Okay, that's fine. And we had that preliminary conversation before he left, and I'll circle back with him.
Well, there's some reassurances. When things don't work, the burden on the owner is to make them work for his own benefit as well as the community. So, just as he already addressed the drainage around the building and sometimes physically being there on site with the conditions that are existing, you can see what the remedy has to be. So,
And I can't emphasize enough, it worked.
okay.
What he designed worked. I don't want to be any misconception that what he designed didn't work.
Okay.
It worked. I just didn't like the
Erosion.
in the driveway, and I didn't like, I didn't like it.
Okay.
So I thought I'd.
Well, a priority here is to be assured that all the drainage stays on site.
In his defense, he probably didn't get a plan of the building. He probably didn't know there were gutters. And if there weren't gutters, there might not have been a problem.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I want to thank Brett for coming in, Mr. King, and Robert for your expertise and your knowledge regarding this. We appreciate your input. Would it please the board if I add Brett to the December 18th agenda for an update? That's about 5 weeks. And you can just,
I'll do everything I can do to get the information. Sure.
okay, awesome. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Okay. I had one other question. Beth, I got your email today about
Recording.
66. I don't know if the engineering firm was gonna do that
Okay.
or myself.
That's fine.
The
Either
ball
way,
might have been dropped a little bit there, so I have to look into that.
Don't worry about that.
Um,
Whenever you're ready.
and are we good to go? We're fully permitted up there, right?
As far as the stormwater management permit, yeah.
Right,
So,
other than
we'll just look
the
to have
recording.
that pre-construction meeting with you when you're ready
Sure.
to start.
Do you have time for a couple questions up there? Or not really?
About that?
About
project?
60, yeah, about that project?
Not at this time.
Not at this time, okay.
I would probably recommend you just come into the office and we can talk on, staff.
Yeah, I'll come back in front of the board at some point on that.
You want to come back in front of the board about that permit? Is that what you're
I
saying?
do. I have a couple questions. I just want to.
Okay, well, that's up to the chair.
Okay.
Can that be something that's put on the 18th, or our next meeting is the 27th of November? Brett?
Yeah, it will take probably about 5 or 10 minutes. I just had some questions, looking for some clarification. So that's fine.
That's up to you, Laura, who's chair.
Um,
We have nothing on the agenda.
And I hate to have them be held up for this, and we don't have anything pressing right now.
I
We
don't
have
think
other
it's holding
things.
me up.
No.
Right.
You can go ahead and
I
ask.
mean,
Yeah, we'll see what we can do for you.
so my question was, now it's done, it's behind us. I agreed to everything. I have no problem with it. But I was just wondering when the last common driveway had to go out for peer review.
Common driveway?
Yeah.
The peer review is for stormwater management permit, not a common driveway.
Okay,
So the peer review is for your stormwater management permit, similar to this stormwater management permit back in 2019. The town does that, as Mr. Therian said, to ensure that the design and the capacity of the basins are going to work properly, and that the stormwater that you're creating will be mitigated off-site and not affect the town roadways. Is basically the final point is, it's part of now as part of the town stormwater management system in this development because of the activities on the site. So every major stormwater permit, I think, that you guys review has a peer review, because we don't have a town engineer.
sure,
And we can't do drainage calculations.
sure.
Well, Robert probably can, but no.
I'm not gonna.
But,
I
yeah.
could be off.
This is the first one I've ever seen, I mean, commercial I totally get, but this is the first one I've ever seen where it's had to go to peer review, but it's done and it's gone.
Yeah.
So I looked into, well, once again, the easement has been submitted. I don't know where it stands on the town side,
I don't either, yeah.
but it has been submitted. Did it come across your desk? Did you
No.
see it? Okay.
That would go to the Board of Selectmen.
There we go. So I looked into this a little bit. So we're creating an easement for the town to come onto this property. Now, I'm not gonna own it forever, ever, whether I build the lots, I build the houses, sell the lots, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. But this grants the town the right to come on the property and make corrections to the drainage if needed, correct?
You don't know the exact wording, so, because I'm not a lawyer, but, it's in the bylaw that there has to be an easement, either granted to the town, so in the event that the stormwater system fails, the town can access it without trespass, I believe is the reason for it.
Okay, so this is gonna have to go to town meeting, right, to be approved, because if the town goes on the property to make repairs, you're gonna be using tax dollars on private property.
Mm-mm. No, I don't think that's what the intent is. The intent is if the system fails
Yeah,
and there are citizens of the community that are impacted by that,
sure,
the town has the right to go in and make the correction and recover its expenses.
So there should be a bond then.
Well, it's either done with the bond or it's assessing whoever was responsible initially for it.
Okay.
I agree, sometimes that's not practically enforceable, but I think that's pretty much the intent of the bylaw, saying that the town, if necessary, or is determined is needed, can go in
sure,
and make the appropriate improvements because it's to the detriment of the community. And those expenses may be recoverable. So, depending on who owns what at what time and what kind of project it is. So I think that is pretty commonplace in a lot of communities.
this is the first one for Townsend, right?
Mhm.
So luckily, I'm the guinea pig.
Huh?
I'm the guinea pig luckily, because this is the first one for Townsend.
It's been in the bylaw since 2014, I think.
Just never, I'm the first person that's ever been enforced upon.
It's due to the fact that staff was not, aware of it, and whoever was on staff at that time really didn't.
So here's my concern, not as the landowner, this is my concern as a town citizen, right? That's not the way I read it, really, and I could be wrong.
Well,
I'm not the smartest.
well, I'm not an expert here either, but I would assume that was the intent.
So
Okay.
I read it, just like you said, the town can come onto the property, fix the drainage, but the way I look at it is you're using taxpayer dollars on private property. So the town would have to get the easement accepted at a town meeting.
No, the easement goes with the registry of deeds. saying that the town has that right. So I think it's more of a legal verbal text document than anything. It doesn't specifically say where the easement is or anything like that, but.
No, it is, it's shown. It's shown on the drawing where the easement is.
Okay, so, if it is, then that's part of the deed
Sure.
and
And I have to disclose that when I sell the property.
absolutely.
What I'm worried about as a taxpayer is the people that buy that house,
Mhm,
there's a maintenance that needs to happen on the drainage system up there, right?
mhm.
The people are gonna say, well, there's an easement, the town can come fix it. I don't have to do anything. That's what I read into that.
I'm not sure. I think the intent is to protect the citizens of the town. And so that, if something like that happens based on a failure of an installation or engineering or the design, it's to protect the occupants of those buildings and the town. If it's a tax burden to the town, it's for the interests of the town and everybody shares that kind of burden. So I don't think, it's not a matter of the funding of it. Obviously, the funding of it won't be justified unless it's really needed. And then the reason is to protect the people in that area. And so it is a town responsibility. And it doesn't matter what neighborhood it would be in. I don't know. I'm not like a legal expert on that, but I can certainly understand the intent of it and what its purpose was. And again, not aware of any situation where it's ever been exercised.
No, because I'm the first person.
Well, are they exercising that against you?
No, they're not exercising.
Okay.
It's because nothing's been done. We haven't.
Well, so there's been no failure yet
There's been no
to
failure because
to
nothing's been
generate
started.
that kind of a response.
Right.
So we'll see what happens when that day comes, I guess.
Okay,
All right.
all right.
Yeah.
I guess that's all I had.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, folks.
Have
Have a good
night.
day.
Thank you, Brett.
Thank you, Ori. Have a good night.
You too. Okay, so 3.1. Beth, do you want to do your report? We have Andrew come back in.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
I'm gonna hop off before Beth takes the floor, but good to see everyone and have a good night.
Okay, thanks, Jennifer.
Yeah, because he
Jessica,
couldn't vote last
thank you.
week, so
Oh.
he can't be in
I
attendance.
see. I see. I didn't understand what happened there.
Yeah. Yeah, to go sit in the corner.
Oh. I'm sorry.
Oh, I got to throw the.
Were you bored out there?
I got to hang out with Chaz. Got to angle a projector. Yeah. Get ready for town meeting.
Yep, so a pretty quick administrative report tonight. Not a whole lot going on. Let's see. Just finished 25 Scales Lane, which is under applications. The certificate of completion application is still open. Working on that tonight. A lot of good progress. The second item is Campbell Farm Open Space Preservation Development. The board received an application for the extension of the stormwater management permit. That just expires on December 9th of this year. So the application has been filed and it's in the office. I've talked to the owner, and mentioned that, a site visit is typically scheduled before the extension is granted. So I was wondering, I just wanted to offer up to the board, perhaps Monday, late afternoon would work. I know that works for the owner. A site visit at the Campbell Farm subdivision
I think so.
to check the stormwater management system.
Where is that?
Monday in the afternoon, can you do that, the 20th?
The 20th?
Yeah.
I will not be here. Everybody knows that, and
Can you
that's,
send me,
Yeah, a
Reminder?
reminder? Oh,
Yeah,
sure,
thank
sure. Yeah, what time would work for you? I know it gets dark early now. What
Yeah.
time? It gets dark early, so I know that can be tricky.
well, I need my mornings in the office to get things going, so
Yeah.
afternoon, early afternoon would be okay.
Okay, yeah, okay, great. But like maybe 4? Is that too early?
4?
4:30?
That's fine.
Oh, great, okay. So 4
Four is
o'clock?
good.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, the earlier the better, because I hate driving in the dark.
All right, great. So I'll confirm with the current property owner. And then, the plan would be to, for the board to look and review the application and all the materials after the site visit. And then when you come back for the meeting on the 27th, then you could act on the extension and I'll process that for them.
Okay.
Okay, so you take a vote on the 27th on that. We have received, the board has received a application for a scenic roads approval for removal of a stone wall, out at 108 West Meadow Road. And the public hearing is scheduled for December 18th at 6:45. I think I sent you guys that email, didn't I?
Yeah,
I hope so.
you
Okay.
did.
Great. No interdepartmental approvals were made. As far as site visits and compliance, everything is looking really good. The only thing I'm waiting for is the proof of recording, as Mr. King just noted, for 66 Bayberry Hill Road, the major stormwater management permit. Just waiting for that proof of recording. As he mentioned, that should be coming along. But everything is really looking good. I have nothing for you there in terms of yeah, it's great. Miscellaneous, I mentioned last time, the fall workshops have been announced. Citizen planning, planner training cooperative, all very good classes. They're all online and the whole list of them, you guys should have those. There's a new conference coming out for, again, Citizen Planner Training Collaborative. That's a Western Mass. They're having a half-day conference on December 2nd. Another good opportunity for board members, planning board and ZBA. The roles and responsibilities is special permits and great classes. Again, we're still running the fare-free Mart commuter service, and that's going well. So that's what I got.
Any idea on usership?
Usership?
Yeah,
Any idea?
not as great as we would like it.
So ride that bus. Get on that bus. Oh,
We're looking at ways to market that a little better.
okay.
We're also working with the college to see what we can do.
Cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in the works to try to increase that.
Thank you. That's great. Yeah. Yeah.
okay, thank you, Beth. You know that you're always busy. So 3.2. Are we going to do anything about the planning board fee schedule, or is there an update of that?
Well, the only thing I would say is that, the two areas of the bylaw that we're gonna pull the fees from for the table were the scenic roads and the other one was the solar bylaw. So we're gonna pull the fee out of those, bylaws, so the board would, I think it might be a good idea for the board to review the whole bylaw if we're gonna make a change, you know what I mean? So I did pull those out for you. One of them is.
Should I throw that in my
Yeah, so.
bylaw review thing?
Yeah, so, and you could take those changes to the bylaw review committee.
Say what?
You could take those changes to the bylaw review committee.
So the solar.
Yeah, in the scenic roads.
Yeah.
So those are ones that have-
3.2 and 3.3 on the agenda. Beth had that in our packets.
Yeah,
right,
right.
it should be.
There.
Oh, you have it?
The packet I gave you, it's in there.
I'm sorry.
So the
Everybody
main
works
goal-
in that tree.
Yeah, the main goal would be to pull the fee out of the bylaw and put it in the table.
Thanks for your support, Carol.
At the end.
Okay, so before we delve
Yeah.
into, excuse me, excuse me. Before we delve into either 3.2 or 3.3, which we have attached to tonight's agenda, 3.4, discussion of Townsend 2022 Master Plan Update Implementations. And I wanted Chaz to be here for that, and I believe he's in the room now? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I was a little confused by this when Beth mentioned to me this afternoon, because so the master plan was approved and it was sent to all the departments. And I don't understand that it would be the board, the planning board, who's in charge of the master plan, but I don't see them as the facilitator of implementation. In other words, once it goes to, and Chaz, correct me if I'm wrong, once it goes to all the departments and we have a town administrator who is supposed to facilitate all the work of the town, wouldn't it be up to him and the department heads to make sure that they are following the master plan? And I don't have a problem being wrong. Just tell me that's what it is.
Yeah, we don't have a guidance.
Well, I know that there are several projects right now that are going on that are directly, the reason why these projects are going on is because of the master plan. MBTA Communities is one of them. The Housing Authority is looking at affordable housing, and that's part of the master plan as well. So what is, I guess I'm unclear, what is the?
I don't think anyone's really organizing that implementation, I think is why I put it on the agenda. There's an implementation table with responsible entities. Board of Selectmen are responsible for certain things, Water Department and other things. But once the plan was approved, it didn't go to departments, to my knowledge. I don't think anyone dispersed it and discussed it with departments. So maybe there's that disconnect that.
It
We can
was
organize.
brought out to them before we submitted it to the state, so I know that it was approved. If I remember correctly, Lori, the planning board, when I was on it, we approved it and we sent it to.
It was my understanding that it was sent to all department heads, including the town administrator. Okay.
Correct.
In other words,
Correct.
everybody who is, working in town hall got it. I mean, I can't physically say that they received it and looked at it, which happens, okay? But I think it is, I look at it anyway, when you're the head of the department, you oversee all the departments, you make sure that they are implementing that plan. I mean, we waited 3 years for it. It was an 8-year-old, plan that we replaced, and new people on board, that would have been an important document. We can't make people read them and we can't make them implement it. We, the planning board, can't. We can only make sure that the document is there for them to go by. So that's, to me, that's the head of town hall, making sure that all the departments are on board, they understand, and that they have a process whereby they're following the master plan.
Correct.
Strategic planning, that's what my understanding is of part of strategic planning. So does the board have any input on
I
that?
agree with that. I agree with that. I've never seen what you're talking about here, and I'd love to see it.
Oh, yeah. They all have-
I think that would be really important, but the role of each one in that, there is no master plan committee right now.
Right.
And it's something, Lori, that you and I had talked about before, is that the ability for that master plan committee to be able to update one section at a time instead of
Right.
wait for 5 years and update the whole thing, which is
Right.
a very long and drawn out process.
Right.
So I'll beg to you to say, well, how would you like to move forward? Because I can present it to the town administrator and the board of selectmen on how they would like to move forward. I don't have a problem
Okay.
with that.
Right. And that's what I would like to see happen. So if Beth could give you that part of the master plan, which is the implementation part, and take that to the Board of Selectmen and see how you want to work that. And I agree with you, and I take full blame of the planning board not being able to visit the master plan. The plan was to do a little bit at each meeting. Some of our meetings are rather drawn out and long, and I have, been tired of a lot of meetings and said, well, we're not doing it tonight. So
Yeah, no,
I'll take the blame.
I understand. So yes, I'll bring that forward to both the town administrator, and I can do it in the liaison reports on tomorrow, actually. That I think that we'd be able to move forward, but I would like to hear from both all of the departments that are affected by the master plan need to be notified that they need to look at it and they need to provide us feedback. So does that say the town administrator is the governing person for it, or is it the board of selectmen, do you know?
Oh, I would guess it's the town administrator? No, I don't know, but I guess it just has to be organized. I mean, you can have a formal signatory page that the department has reviewed, their section, and that they understand their role in the implementation table, and some sort of tracking, and I don't know whether that'd be able.
Yeah, see, and that's the tracking part, because I know that the water department is keeping up their end of the deal because they're building a new treatment plant. They've invested money in wells. They're looking to expand, to put another tank in Lunenburg Road and all of that. So there's a lot of pieces of it, but I don't see one place where it's all coming to say, yes, we are working on the master plan. But I do know that, like I said, there are several different boards and committees that are working on their piece of it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, that's great.
So yes, I'll bring that forward.
I would appreciate that, Chaz. I think we all would. And please remember that all the departments were surveyed, if you will, during the master plan process. So a lot of them even wrote their own chapters. So they, of course, knew what they were supposed to be doing. And I applaud those that are going by what they said they were going to be doing. Other than that, maybe there should be at least a once-a-year look, and we'll probably do for that, on what the progress has been and where exactly does that progress fall in the master plan. Kind of like a report thing when they do the annual report. So for the previous year, they state what they're going to do. I don't know. Do we need to have reference in our reports to the master plan? And then it's kind of like spelled out?
Maybe we should.
Easier?
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. Because I'll tell you that a lot of other communities, like MRPC, when we were talking Thursday night, we were talking about the CPA and MBTA communities. That was the other thing too. How many were like us that were contributing to CPA, and how many were like us that couldn't meet their qualifications with the state on the MBTA communities. So a lot of them were saying that when they do a report, they do it per their master plan. In other words, per our master plan, we're charged with doing this. So we're 3 months into working on this plan, and this is where we've gotten.
I think that's a good idea, because that also will give direction to a master plan committee once they get seated, again, to say, this is where we were, this is what we've been working on, so that they can decide how to move forward on what section to improve first. So, yeah, I think that's a good idea.
You know, we know that you formed a bylaw committee and that's being worked on now, which was something that needed to be done. And I'm sure that that was part of the master plan.
It was, yeah.
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 So,
Well, it's part of our charter too, actually.
Charter, yeah.
yeah. So we had no choice, but okay.
Excuse me,
Yes,
I don't
Robert.
know, I don't know anything about the master plan.
You weren't here all those meetings. so
I know, I
you
mean,
weren't.
where are we with that?
It was updated in 2022.
2022.
So it's a recent update, yeah, but
It's approved.
Mad
a
cow.
long time,
Took 3 years.
One time,
yeah.
just
No.
like my
Hopefully, after the first of the year, we'll have a lot more energy and we'll get to work on that.
Well, Madam Chair, if I may, the historically, the master plan's been written and approved and sits up on a shelf and nothing ever happens to it.
But it's not
And-
supposed to.
Right, and we have been since I've been working on the planning board and committees before that, we're actually implementing parts of the master plan according to how it was written. But now the next step is we need to have it reported so that people know that we're working on the master plan, and that's the piece of it that hasn't been. But it also puts the master plan again in front of the town to say, look, we approved it, but this is what we're working on, and it allows us to be able to plan for the next master plan revision so that the town constantly has a plan. Because we need, we discussed it in the planning board, we discussed it in the board of selectmen. We need shovel-ready projects so that if we have a grant or funding comes up, they say, look, this is what we have, do you have anything ready? We can say, yes. From the master plan, we have this project, we need funding for it, and we can apply for it, and it's already written, it's already ready to go. So that's the importance of the master plan. So we just need to, it sounds to me like we need to coordinate it so that it's all put together, so.
And just jumping in on that, I mean, for example, tomorrow night, the presentation that we'll be giving, to tie that right into the document somehow and cross-reference things like that. It just makes the town, more aware of what we're doing.
Yeah.
The MBTA communities.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'll give you a prime example of that. The MBTA communities is part of the master plan because the state says this is what you have to do, so we have to do it. That's number one. Number two is the master plan. It is in the master plan, but it also, the transportation from Townsend to an urban center is another part of our master plan. We have the bus route that was set up is part of the master plan, which now the zoning that was looked at for the MBTA communities is along the same route as the bus, so that all of those pieces are tying together so that everything in the master plan is going from this board to this board to this board, and we're all working on the same thing.
Absolutely.
So that's how it all ties in together. And I think that's the importance of the master plan. And I think Lori and I have talked about this ad nauseum to say this is how a master plan is supposed to be worked.
So I'm trying to see, probably administratively, for each department, when they're doing for one example, besides the annual report, but when they're doing any type of warrant article, that there should be a reference to the master plan. Whatever you're asking money for, whatever, you know what I mean? That is just part of the article. Is that, and then the town understands where you're going to, or what you've done. We've approved the master plan. This actually relates to the master plan instead of just out there because some committee decided it. No, that isn't what happened. There was a master plan and the board or committee acted upon, not the committee, but the board acted upon the master plan and is presenting this per that. So
Correct,
it just didn't come out of thin air.
right.
You know, I mean, I think all we can do as board members is really direct staff when we're doing something, what part of the master plan is this of?
Yeah.
That we're doing? Anybody else with comments on that?
No, I agree.
So does anybody else want to talk about what Beth pulled out for us? Thank you, Chaz, for your input
Yeah.
on that. I
Do
really
you mind if I leave?
appreciate that. You could, unless you want
Oh,
to.
I gotta get ready for tomorrow night.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much for coming back up.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chad. Thank you,
So
Chad.
what Beth did pull out for us was, unless you want to just have this go to the bylaw committee, was the 3.2 and 3.3 on the agenda, being the fee schedule and the planning board regulations.
Yeah, so for 3.2, in reference to the scenic road bylaw and the large scale ground mounted solar installation, those are mainly to pull out the fees, but I also thought, you know, if the board members want to individually go through those bylaws, if you're proposing a bylaw change, it's got to go through the process of public hearing, town meeting. I thought it made sense, you know, maybe to review those again while you're changing that one little thing. You might, you know, so you could do that individually or, you know, as a group, you know, you can bring it back to the next meeting. But I thought it might, you know, since we're going to make a change, amend the bylaw, it's a full state statutory process. So just to change it for one extraction, it might be a time to revisit the whole thing. I don't know.
I have I need some direction here. So I think we can actively get a lot of modifications to the bylaws accomplished within the next year.
Mhm.
Okay, so I would think it would be advantageous that a whole bunch of them are introduced at one meeting for approval.
Mhm.
Because as discussed before, there's so many sections of the bylaws that probably need to be updated. So I think in terms of dealing with this realistically, because it's a pretty enormous amount of material here to address and look at, we need to determine the priority ones, so that we can at least show some real good progress and help support the departments that are here now. So maybe the approach would be with this planning board as well as the other departments, the same approach. Which ones do you feel are priorities to address? And then we can run those through the bylaw committee, come back with our recommendations to the board, the planning board particularly. And so that everybody has an opportunity to address, somebody has to determine which the priority ones are and focus on them and get them revised and updated. And we have experienced here what difficult it is exploring the language in each one to think of other implications that were not considered. And so I think I haven't really got involved with the bylaw committee yet as a committee. So we need to establish an approach and a goal. And part of that will be reviewing all the issues that we know of and determining which ones are priority and allocating 3 or 4 of them at a meeting at a time, so that we do have a constructive product in a 12-month period.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was going for tonight, because we are trying to create the fee schedule, the table.
Yeah,
We're trying to pull all of the fees out of the bylaws because
Right.
they change, because,
right.
you know, costs change.
Well, I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are only 2 places that we found.
Right.
And that's, you know,
Well,
so,
now that you say that, Beth, and I'm looking at the scenic road one here.
Yeah.
You know, it's got the fees for the violations and penalties. Do we want to take that out, make it
No.
a separate table?
Yeah,
oh, I don't know.
I would think so.
Wait, who's gonna enforce it there? I think it's the building commissioners enforcement.
But I'm just saying, because you have the appendix A for the fees.
Yep.
Which would be these fees,
Mhm.
but now you have fees for violations and penalties.
Which also could change.
Which you could also could change.
Okay, yeah.
So do
okay.
we want to do like an appendix B?
Okay.
Or-
To do for the
Penalties.
violations and penalties? I don't
Yeah,
know.
that probably makes sense. you
Only
know.
because they could
Yeah.
potentially could change.
Well, I think the primary objective is not to have to, it's to have a separate section of fees regardless of what
Right.
they're about.
I think so, yeah. 'cause that-
Right.
you know, 'cause-
So that we don't have to keep
Change.
monitoring
Right.
it every time there's a
Town
fee
meeting.
change, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, not just that, if I may, I don't think that fees belong in the bylaws.
At all.
No, it's-
When
I
you
agree.
reference a fee, it should just say, see fee schedule, which is a totally separate document. Then you're not having to change the bylaw because the fees are gonna go up all the time. Costs of fees goes up every year, so you're not gonna wanna do that, but it's very easy to change one sheet of paper. Cause say somebody unilaterally, oh, I'm sorry.
So actually, this probably doesn't even have to go to the bylaw review committee, if you
No,
will.
it does
You know
not.
what I mean? It's
No,
Not the-
I mean,
not
I'm
the
gonna
schedule.
say, we don't want fees in the
Okay.
bylaw,
Yeah,
okay, period.
Yeah.
So if you want, then, we could plan on spring town meeting and just to change the extraction.
yeah,
And,
Just focus on the fees themselves, and that's a separate topic.
all right, and then
Yeah.
create the fee schedule. Oh, that would be great.
Yeah.
And if anyone sees any other fees in the bylaw, let me know.
But I do like the idea of, Robert, all the suggestions that you had about those bylaws that you felt needed to be looked at because of the actual cases that we've heard in the last few years come before us is a great idea. And scenic roads were certainly one of them. And I have I'll leave this up to the board if you want to pick your own, or if you want to all of us review before our next meeting, just these 2 that Beth pulled out for us. And then we can and you can highlight it where you might do a change or where you weren't. And then if we can do that before the next meeting, and maybe we'll plan that for the future as well, just go over what we all thought were changes. We may have all agreed, or maybe we saw something that somebody else didn't see. So if that's okay with you, Beth, we'll put 3.2 and 3.3 on the agenda again. It doesn't, and just review that next month, where there's no hearing. We already booked 2 things, but that's that shouldn't take long. There's no public hearing on the 27th. You just want us to do Campbell Farm, and then we'll get an update from Mr. King. And his-
His update.
Oh, his-
Yes, the 18th.
The 18th. His is the 18th. Okay, so the 27th is going to be quick anyway. So why don't we just have these 2 as our primary between the minutes, Campbell Farm, and then a look at this, and then
Great.
So we're gonna look at scenic road?
And the
Okay.
solar
And then
array.
the 3.2 and the 3.3 that were on the agenda. We'll all look at that and then discuss it at the next meeting.
Okay.
I gave you the solar array and the
Yeah, I added them. Yeah, right
shared
here.
too.
They're both
Yeah.
really new, for the most part. They're fairly new bylaws, but you never know. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, that whole industry is changing too,
oh,
so.
yeah, for the solar, yeah.
There's a lot going on there.
Okay. Beth, what is, so we will meet on the 27th and December 4th?
Right, so that was kind of fell that way because of the Christmas holiday, which Christmas is on a Monday, I believe, right? So I just kind of shifted the planning board meetings to the 1st and the 3rd, not realizing that you'd be back to back for a week. So if you want to just cancel December 4th, it's not that busy right now. And even if it did get busy, there would still be a 35-day, review period for applications. So if you want to cancel the 12/4 meeting, it certainly would be not a problem.
How is the board with that?
Fine.
That's
Skip
fine.
the 4th? Okay, so
So,
we will meet on the 27th and we'll do our review, little bit of review, and then on December 18th.
Okay.
Having that resolved, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn if you're all ready. At 8:07 PM.
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 8:07 PM.
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote.
Robert Therrien, yes.
Carol Hofstas, yes.
Andrew Shepherd, yes.
And Laura Schifrin, yes. Thank you all very much for your participation tonight.